Got a few more advanced exercises for first section of chapter 3 here. First one says I have an odd number of silver coins if I have 9 silver coins. Okay, so the important thing here is anytime we have an if-then, we have to be careful about the order. And but first, let's get the propositions down. I have an odd number of silver coins, fairly straightforward here. Let's call that O. And the second proposition is I have 9 silver coins. Let's call that N. Now, the question basically we'll ask is this O horseshoe N, which means if O then N, if I have an odd number of silver coins, then I have 9 silver coins. Is it that, or is it N horseshoe O? If I have 9 silver coins, then I have an odd number of silver coins. Possibly you might wonder if it's an if and only if, right? And if and only if O, or the other way around. With if and only if, the order does not matter. If and only if, as we'll talk about further, means that one implies the other. The implication goes both ways. That's not the case with if-then. If you look at the example here, it should be pretty clear that we have a one-way implication, and sometimes we want to say that. It's said right here. The true claim is actually the translation in this case. We are not trying to translate it to make it true. We're trying to translate it what it says. But our correct answer here is going to be N horseshoe O. If I have 9 silver coins, then I have an odd number of silver coins. And that comes out of not what's said. Forget about the content. Just take a look at the structure. It looks like this. O, if, N. I've just put in my abbreviations there, not for the content. So we can just think about the logical structure. O, if, N. Does that say if O, then N? And the answer is no. It says if N, then O. So that's the way we're going to translate it. If I say X if Y, that we translate it as Y horseshoe X. The thing that the if clause, the antecedent as we'll call it later, the hypothesis if you want to put it like that, would go to the left. All right, you may want to rewind this and take a look at it. This is the general translation structure. Alright, by the way, there are some specific examples, some general translation structures on page 42 that are of much importance. There are also 10 examples of translation and of increasing difficulty in 3.1 that you should surely take a look at, as well as the prose there. These clips are surely not meant to replace what's in the text, but to supplement what's there. Alright, next one here. I'm going to go ahead and write out the sentences. We have Amanda answers correctly. I'm going to call that A. Just to practice. And in this case, it's particularly useful because the other two claims don't, well, one of the other two claims does not appear. We have two claims. The one that's stated is Kirsten will be a great success. Let's go ahead and put that here. Kirsten, sorry, still working on this pen here, got a new one, will be a great success. Okay, the other claim here, as you think about it, setting aside before the comma, we have Mario or Kirsten will be a great success. The other claim is Mario will be a great success. It can't just be Mario, it's a person. We need a claim, and implicitly we've just kind of done a shorthand here. We have what's called a complex subject. Mario will be a great success. Now, once we have that down, somewhat straightforward, but our ambiguity here in terms of translating this is going to be with parentheses. The order of operations does matter in many, many cases, and so when we get complex, we need parentheses to disambiguate, in this case, between these two things. A horseshoe, or if A, then M or K as a group. The other possibility, maybe not too plausible here, but different, is if I had if A, then M, or K. Take a look at those two expressions. You see the operators are exactly the same. Parentheses are different. To talk out what the difference is, this expression right here says if A, then either M or K. The second expression is not an if-then claim. It's an or claim. It says either I have, read it backwards, K, or it's true that if A, then M. So either if A, then M, or K would be how we would put it. Now, the comma right here tells us that what's before the comma gets grouped separately from what's after, as well as the compound subject, and that makes this a correct answer. On to the next one. All right, I'm just going to shorthand the different propositions in this case. We're going to let M stand for Monday will be a high flyer. Here, Wednesday is the day of reckoning. We're going to let that be W. And the sun will shine again someday. We'll let that be S here. This one perhaps a little bit less difficult than the prior one. It's really about the parentheses. I have M, Monday will be a high flyer, or W, Wednesday is the day of reckoning, and the sun will shine again someday. You might write it like that to begin, and then say, wait a minute, is this an or claim with the first part of it, first disjunct we'll call it M, and the second disjunct W and S, or is it an and claim, which says that I have both M or W and S. And the content doesn't tell us. We don't take this from the content in any case, but the comma tells us that the first two things are grouped together. So based on what's being said here, to put it in other terms, it is being asserted that the sun will shine again someday, and at least one of two other things. Monday will be a high flyer, or Wednesday is the day of reckoning. If the comma were here after Monday will be a high flyer, then we'd be saying either Monday is a high flyer or Wednesday is the day of reckoning and the sun will shine again someday. We'd either have M or we'd have both W and S. And that's a different claim, but if we switch the comma, that's what we would get. Alright, this time I think we're running a little bit short on time, so I'm just also going to abbreviate. We'll abbreviate this. It actually appears exactly here. Victoria plays basketball, we'll say V. And then K for Katie, watch what I'm doing here, plays basketball. We cannot have the negation. Okay, let's make a note off to the side here. Always bring out the negations. Okay, in other words, not as we translate it with tilde or squiggle. Okay, so along those lines, I got to say Katie plays basketball. And we'll let A stand for Ashley plays basketball. Just a second. And then we're going to translate here as V, horseshoe. We know by the comma, I'm going to have to modify this here. We have Katie and Ashley do not play basketball. You've got to really think about what that means. Here's what it's going to be. Think about this. Not the case that K, and it's not the case that A. Let's write that a little bit more clearer. If Victoria plays basketball, then Katie and Ashley do not play basketball. Just writing the same thing a little bit clearer there. That's what we got.